We wanted to just take a few minutes today and share some of the work that PLC's been working on. It's been such an unusual year. A lot of time we discontinued our second Saturday outing series back in February. And unfortunately, if we had kept that going throughout the spring and summer, many of you would have had an opportunity to visit some of the properties that we've protected over the last few months because they're really some wonderful projects and we're real proud of them. And we can't do it without your support. So we just want to go through some of the projects that we have completed this year, but also look back at kind of the 30-year history of PLC. And Palmer and Mindy on our staff did a great job today pulling these numbers together. Since we were founded, we have 4 state parks in our region, and that includes Pilot Mountain, Hanging Rock, the Hall River, and the Mayo River State Parks. We have added over 3,000 acres to those 4 parks. And we've probably assisted with some other projects that have added to the park that we don't really take credit for. But we're real proud of those. And I think I saw on the news yesterday, I think Pilot Mountain and Hanging Rock were both at capacity by 11 a.m. on Sunday. And it is, the whole pandemic has just really brought to our attention how important these public places are, the chance to get out and spread out, exercise. You can't go to a gym, or it's problematic getting to a gym, but it's certainly great to get outdoors and hike these beautiful trails. And we remain confident that so many people have reconnected with nature over the last 10 months. But we're confident they're not going to forget about it when we get back to whatever normal may look like. That we've reconnected with that nature. We've learned how much we had missed it. And we're not going to let our busyness and our lives get in the way of connecting with that. We have worked with the Wildlife Resources Commission and added almost 4,000 acres to public hunting and fishing properties throughout the region. We are the proud owners of just over 2,000 acres at Fisher's Peak in Surry County along the Blue Ridge Parkway. If you aren't familiar with it, if you've ever been to the Blue Ridge Music Center to watch a show, Fisher's Peak is the highest point on the southern landscape if you were sitting there watching that. We are talking to the Park Service and others about potentially adding some of that property to the Blue Ridge Parkway, to the National Park Service. And that will, as most federally connected projects do, it will take many years for that to happen, but we're certainly excited about that possibility. The Cane Creek Mountain Project is a relatively new one that we've been working on. PLC and the Conservation Fund and Alamance County and several other partners. We have put together, right now it's 621 acres of completely forested, untouched property in southern Alamance County. And by the end of the day, sooner or later, that property is going to be over 1,000 acres. And it has public trails. It has about 4 miles of hiking trails on it, a great parking area, restrooms. And that just went public this year. So that's a really exciting project. And then some of the historical work that we've done, we haven't completed projects recently, but historic Bethania in Forsyth County, we've protected about 192 acres, which doesn't sound like a tremendous amount, but we are confident that we have protected a lot of the historical context in Bethania, and that even if we never get to do another project there, which is very unlikely, that town and the historical nature of it has been protected and will continue to be so. And then just down the street from where I am, we have protected about 16 acres at the Guilford Courthouse National Military Park. And we partnered with the Guilford, what's the name, Palmer? I'm sorry.
The Guilford Battleground Company?
Yes, thank you. Guilford Battleground Company, to buy up some of those properties as they have become available, and actually been able to add one of the actual battle lines back into park ownership so that the historical context and the study and education can continue appropriately. So we always like to celebrate what we do in one year, but it's also fun to look back over 30 years at some of the accomplishments that we've been able to put together. So Brianna, if you're ready, we'll start highlighting a few of these. Our year really started with the conservation easement on the Crosnor School and Children's Home, the farm, as it's affectionately known in Winston-Salem. And that is an 88 acre easement right in the middle of Winston-Salem. Our next step, now that we've conserved the property with the easement, hopefully next year, we will add 2 parking areas and a trail that traverses the property. So not only will you get the beauty of driving by it and knowing it's protected, but you'll also get some access to get out and take in this beautiful piece of land. We've done quite a bit of work of farmland protection this year. And as you'll see some of the areas, but our main partners there are the state. Commissioner Troxler, Steve Troxler, actually lives in Brown Summit just up the road. And the North Carolina Department of Agriculture has a program called the Farmland Preservation Trust Fund. And then there's a federal component called the Agricultural Conservation Easement Program. And our very patient, wonderful attorneys and staff are able to mesh those 2 programs together and help farmers protect their land so that it will be protected, not just for them, but for future generations to grow our food on. And a few of these projects, this is Randy Lewis. He produces Ranloo dairy milk in Alamance County, a wonderful farm, 93 acre easement. And in Alamance County, we have a really cool relationship with the Alamance County Voluntary Ag District. And the county and PLC basically work together to preserve these farms. And then we are jointly hold the conservation easement. And that's unlike any of the other 8 counties that we work in. So we're really grateful for their staff and their vision of protecting farmland. And obviously, if you've driven through Alamance County, you know how rapidly that region right between Greensboro and the Triangle is growing. So they're doing a great job there. This is Henry Chandler beside Kaylin there on the left. Henry owns a 76 acre easement in Alamance County, and it's similar. We partnered with the county and the state Farmland Preservation Trust Fund to protect that piece of property. This young man is Daryl Wright. Daryl and Sheila Wright own several hundred acres in Randolph County, and they grow organic chickens. And if you've ever been to Costco here in Greensboro, those chickens that they produce are most likely raised on the Wright's farm. They also produce milk, and they are a big provider of milk to, oh, Ken, what's the name of the dairy? Do you recall? What'd you say, Ken?
Homestead, I think.
Homeland Creamery. Thank you.
Homeland Creamery, yeah.
They provide milk to Homeland Creamery. So if you get that at the farmer's market, the curb market, or if you've ever had their ice cream, that's the source of the milk for that. And this is Josh on the right, Josh, our attorney, and David Coltrane. David owns a big farm just inside of Randolph County, just south of Guilford. And we have protected about 94 acres so far. But there will probably be several phases of that farm going forward that we'll be able to protect even more of that. The Rockrest Nature Preserve, we don't normally work in Chatham County, but this property was just across the line, and it is a natural heritage site that drains into the Hall River. And with our interest in the Hall River watershed, it just made sense for us to take this project on, and it is now protected with a conservation easement on these 85 acres. Beautiful piece of property, wonderful landowners that just want to let nature kind of take its course there. One of our recent acquisitions, this is right on Highway 21, and it's right at the corner of Surrey County and Wilkes County. It's actually located in Wilkes County. But this property, the creek that you see there, is part of the headwaters of Elkin Creek. And Elkin Creek is the drinking water supply for the town of Elkin, and then subsequently drains into the Yadkin River. We were able to buy this property earlier this year. We're going to add about 50 acres that PLC already owns adjacent to it. So in total, it's going to be about 290 acres. And our plan is we own it. We're going to place a conservation easement on it and give it to the town of Elkin so they can conserve it and own it for the benefit of the public. And then there's also a wonderful nonprofit group called the Elkin Valley Trails Association. And we are going to partner with them to build some hiking trails on this property so that we can get public access to it and get people out enjoying a really important part of the Blue Ridge Escarpment up there. Just recently, in 2017, we completed an easement on about 270 acres at Mount Shepherd. Mount Shepherd's the highest point in Randolph County. If you've ever driven Highway 64 between Asheboro and Lexington, you know exactly where it is on the horizon. We were able to add 86 more acres to that. And again, that land is owned by the Mount Shepherd Retreat Center. They use it for children's environmental education, getting people out, connecting with nature. So just a great dovetail of our mission and their mission and being able to do those together. Then our most recent acquisition is very close to Mount Shepherd. It's the Paris property. It was owned by a gentleman named Joey Paris, who passed away, I believe, in late 2019. His daughter, as administrator, executor of the estate, was able to work out an arrangement for PLC to buy the property so that Joey's lifelong interest in keeping that for wildlife, managing it for the benefit of Caraway Creek, which you see there. The dam in the picture was probably built in the very late 1800s, if not early 1900s. So over 100 years old. It still functions like it was built yesterday. So really fascinating part of the history of Randolph County. And our vision is that eventually we will have a small parking area on this property, and we will build somewhere between 2 and 3 miles of trail. So again, kind of like our Knight Brown Nature Preserve, more opportunities for people to get out and walk some of these great properties that we've protected. And those are the ones that have closed. We normally don't publicize things that we're working on that are going to close, but this one's been in the news and we're really, really proud of it. Palmer especially has taken on the task of getting the Guilford County, the city of Greensboro, the town of Summerfield, the town of Oak Ridge, and PLC to work jointly to acquire a 113-acre piece of property along Reedy Fork Creek. And it's important for a number of reasons. Reedy Fork Creek is the part of the drinking water supply for the city of Greensboro. It is a great wetland. It's a great wildlife refuge right in the middle of a very rapidly developing area. But most importantly to us, it contains about a mile or a little over a mile of the path of the Piedmont Greenway, which we've been working on for probably 15 years, if not more. And the Piedmont Greenway is our vision of connecting the city of Winston-Salem to the city of Greensboro by a off-road, totally pedestrian-friendly trail. And we've made some really great progress this year. BANDERA, the acquisition of BANDERA will really cement that. And our goal here is we're going to buy the property, and then eventually we will transfer it to the town of Summerfield, who will own it and manage it. And then all these parties will work out the arrangement for how it's going to be best managed for the public. But it will have public access. We hope to get trails built on it as soon as possible. And we think this is really going to jumpstart our effort to connect the Piedmont Greenway. Palmer, do you want to add anything to that?
I think you covered it really well. And one point is that we do want to provide horse trails, since horses are such a big part of the community and history of that part in Guilford County.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, Brianna. The one project that you probably would not know about, we were given about close to 40 acres on the Little Yadkin River in Forsyth County many years ago, maybe 2008 or 9. Earlier this year, we actually sold it with a conservation easement, and you don't think about PLC selling land very often, but in this case, the donor gave us the land, we put an easement on it, we sell it to a private landowner that can use it for recreation and being outdoors, and then we were able to take those funds and redeploy those to go do other conservation projects. The real beneficiary of this was our Emily Allen Wildflower Preserve in Winston-Salem. The original donor and Emily Allen herself were college roommates, so she knew the garden real well and was very excited to leverage this piece of property to help PLC and to help the Emily Allen Garden. We have some pretty significant construction projects going on at the garden right now. And I hope that by spring wildflower season, we will be back in position to have more folks out there who can really appreciate the beauty and the diversity of the plants that occur there. We have also been the recipient of a number of planned gifts this year. Planned giving is those individuals that have included PLC in their estate plans. All of these people were supporters of Piedmont Land Conservancy, but they decided once they were gone from this earth that they wanted some of their assets to go to furthering the mission that we do. And I think it's worthy of highlighting them. Janet Gill lived in Jamestown, and she left a sizable amount of money to the organization. And what's really cool about that is just the type and the scale of projects that we can even consider now because of the funds that these people and others before them have left. Bill Stevens, he actually had an easement on his property in Guilford County and left a bequest to the PLC. Margaret Ware and Marianne Sykes were both similar. They left funds to support our land conservation work. And Sarah Barnhart was a Winston-Salem resident who has identified PLC to benefit from her estate. That has not closed yet, although Ms. Barnhart passed away earlier this year. So it's always a good reminder that the work that we do, it's going to last so much longer than anybody on this call, any of us. And that's what is really exciting. And I'm looking at my screen, so I see mostly our staff members, but that's why Ken and Palmer and myself, that's the really fun part of this job, is protecting land that not only are we going to be able to enjoy, but our kids and next generation. So you really have to appreciate these 5 individuals for looking long-term for the goodness of the Piedmont, not just for the short term. And what we are kicking off tomorrow, we have an anonymous donor who has committed a $25,000 match if we can raise $25,000. Greg and our development team sent out renewal letters and notifications a few weeks ago for year-end donors, and amazingly, we're almost there. We have raised, as of today, almost $23,000, so we're about $2,200 short of that goal. We think with Giving Tuesday being tomorrow, a lot of people will be giving online, and we certainly will welcome that. If you are on here and you were one of those donors, we certainly appreciate it. It's been a challenging year since we've not been able to have events or fundraisers in person, but it's very gratifying that the donors, we have give or take 1,200 to 1,300 donors to PLC. And they have steadfastly, even throughout the spring when things were so topsy-turvy and we just didn't know what direction this thing was going to go in, our donors have been very steadfast, seeing how important our work is for the well-being of the community. Seeing, for example, Ken ran some numbers, and I think in 2019, the Knight Brown Nature Preserve had about 4,500 visitors throughout the year. And in March and April of this year, it had almost 5,000 visitors during those 2 months. The state parks are seeing similarly just tremendous demand. And we think, as horrible as the pandemic is, it's a really good thing to highlight how important these preserves are, how important local food is, safe local food, how important clean water is to our region. So all those things, that's what PLC works on every single day, is trying to solidify local food, farmland, clean water, wildlife habitat, and all those things. As we've all kind of paused, we realize how important they are and how much we want to invest in those to make sure that they stay that way, because we are all lucky to live in this wonderful part of the world, and we're just real proud and pleased to be able to protect a few pieces of it. So we thank you for supporting us. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you, Becky. There are other projects that are in the works that I just, based on landowner relationships and things, we're not really comfortable talking about publicly. But don't assume that once we get through Bandera and the other projects that we've talked about, that we're just going to quit working, because there's a huge amount of conservation, not just next year, but even over the next 5 or 10 years, that if we're successful and we do everything we hope, we're going to make the Piedmont, it's going to continue to be this wonderful place. So thank you all for joining us today. I'm happy to answer any questions. There's Jerry Rowe just popped up. And we may do more of these over the winter and throughout the spring as we continue to have a hard time actually meeting in person. But the projects speak for themselves, and it's just a matter of letting you all know what it is that we're working on.
Hey, Kevin, this is Jim. I got a question for you on that Chatham County easement. Is there a land conservancy also in Chatham County, and why did they pick our land conservancy instead of another one?
That's a good question, Jim. The Triangle Land Conservancy does work. They're based in Durham, but they cover Chatham County. This property, they have a focus area in part of Chatham County, but this just really wasn't in an area they were focused on. So when the landowner contacted them, they actually suggested, well, maybe you should talk to PLC. And the land trust in North Carolina operate really well together. If something like that pops up, we jump on the phone and just explain what's going on. And it just made sense for us to do it. No real other reason than that, but it is unusual. We cover 9 counties officially, but we have projects in about 12 different counties and 1 in Virginia. So we'll go wherever we're needed, and we'll do our very best.
We have projects in northern part of Chatham County that are part of the Sudfin Mill area in Alamance. So we already had 3 other projects near this one that were part of the Sudfin Mill in Alamance, which the southern part of that is northern Chatham. So we've already got 4 projects in Chatham near this one.
Well, we will hang on for just a few minutes if anybody comes up with a question or wants to chime in. But thank you all for joining us. I know I'd love to be sitting around a Rotary presentation or something like that, but we've still got a great message, and if we need to get it out by Zoom, that's what we're going to do. We're going to get it out that way. So
thank you.
Everybody have a great day. It's good seeing everybody.
Yeah.